What's up, all my musicians out there? So I've done so many videos about DistroKid, as you all know, because it really is the best independent music distributor for all independent musicians. You know, I've been using them over 5 years now since I first signed up with them, and I've not regretted it once. And as a result of me talking so much about DistroKid, people have hit me up saying, hey Mark, you know, there's got to be some negative aspects to DistroKid. No product or no service is ever perfect. There's got to be some things that you're not happy about with DistroKid. And I always like to be transparent on my videos about obviously the pros of anything and obviously the cons as well. So in this video, I'm gonna take like a devil's advocate / pessimistic approach about the negative aspects of using DistroKid. Being honest, there were really only 4 I could come up with that I'm not too happy about with DistroKid. And I was even trying to think of like another one to make it like an even 5, or I guess an odd 5. Whatever, but I could only really think of 4. First off, when it comes to the extras and the add-ons, one of them is basically submit to more stores. What that means, you pay, I think it's like $8 a year for an album, and it will basically auto-add it to stores every single year. DistroKid's always adding new stores to their library, which is amazing. The weird thing is, I actually did this for my first ever album way back when in 2015, and for whatever reason, it rarely gets added to new stores automatically, if ever. So for me, any single time past that I would upload a song, I never selected that. To me, that kind of $8 extra a year is a complete waste of money, because now what I do is I literally just go to my songs when a new store is added, and I'll just manually add them, and it takes 2 seconds. The next thing is the stats. So when you go onto your stats on DistroKid, sometimes the Spotify stats completely glitch up, or they don't show you basically any plays or anything in depth. Being honest though, I really think everybody should use the Spotify for Artists platform. You can either download it for your phone or just do it, you know, on your computer. So it's super easy to check out all of these in-depth analytics. So I don't really focus on the DistroKid one anyway. And in addition, DistroKid will obviously show you your downloads, you know, in terms of like iTunes and Amazon purchases. Sometimes there is a lag there too. There's been times I check it and it'll say, oh, for the past month, you've gotten no downloads. And I'm like, man, like my music's not doing well. Like no downloads in the past month. And then a week later, it obviously will spike up again saying I got a ton of downloads, right? So sometimes there is a bit of like a delay or a lag when it comes to the DistroKid stats. I don't know if that's DistroKid's fault though, or maybe Spotify and the other platforms just maybe taking a little bit longer, if like say there's a lot of traffic at the same time, or whatever the case is. Then there's the add to the Beatport Dilemma, which is kind of a weird one that, and again, I think this is probably more Beatport than DistroKid, if anything. So in case you know, Beatport is basically like one of the biggest hubs for electronic music. It's kind of like the iTunes or Amazon or Spotify, but just for EDM. And if you want to upload on Beatport, it was very, very tricky back in the day, but now you can easily do it through DistroKid. The tricky thing though is, when you select your genre with DistroKid, if you pick a genre that's not electronic, you cannot submit it to Beatport. Which in some ways I see, but at the other end is kind of frustrating too. Like, let's say you're like a hip-hop artist, and hip-hop and EDM have a lot of similarities, and you're like, look, I really want to release on Beatport. If you select hip-hop as your genre, you cannot release on Beatport. So what you have to do is select electronic first, then it's gonna say, okay, what's your electronic subgenre? Then select hip-hop under the electronic subgenre, and then you can release on Beatport. Being honest though, I don't even think this is DistroKid's fault. I actually think this is more Beatport, because in a way, I mean, why would Beatport want a heavy metal song when Beatport's niche is only EDM? So I can kind of see maybe why this is not even DistroKid's fault. I feel like for most of these negative things I'm gonna talk about, I don't even think it's DistroKid. You know, I think it's more just like the way the other platforms work. And then last is basically the YouTube Content ID system. So I get so many questions about this. People really want their songs to be on YouTube, in the sense that if someone makes a video about it or uses it in a video, and their song's in it, they get the revenue from that video. Being honest, I think this is a complete waste of money. You have to spend $5 a year to be in that database, plus you give up 20% of your revenue. And for me, not only am I a musician, I'm also a YouTuber. So I understand things like YouTube analytics and SEO and optimization and just everything that comes with YouTube. I understand it very, very well. I don't think that's worth it at all. I think you're wasting your money. Like, yeah, it might be cool to see, oh, look, this person used my song and they detected it, and now I'm getting the revenue from that video. But unless a massive YouTuber uses your song, or unless you're like a massive artist where everyone's using your music in their videos, I think it's just a complete waste of money. Now again though, I believe DistroKid actually goes through a secondary or a third party, I think is a better way to word that. I believe they go through a third party that does a YouTube Content ID detection kind of algorithms. I don't think DistroKid does it. I think they hire a third party to do it for them. So I don't even think this is DistroKid's fault either. I will say that it is a little bit frustrating when I looked at the pricing model and I was like, wait, it's kind of a ripoff when I know about YouTube. you have to make at least $5 a year plus 20% of the revenue that you're going to be getting from that video. You might actually lose money from the YouTube content ID detection system than actually making money. In addition, in case you didn't know, if you select your genre as electronic or as hip hop, you cannot use the YouTube content ID detection system. Now, this is something for a whole other video, a whole other topic that's a can of worms, where basically in hip hop and electronics specifically, royalty-free samples are incredibly common. So a lot of people go to a platform like Splice Sounds, use a bunch of samples that they legally purchase and put it in their music, and it has become this kind of super gray area that's super hard to navigate right now, where if I get like a vocal sample of someone singing, and another artist does as well, the YouTube content ID detection system will flag one song as the other. Even though both legally we own all the rights to the songs and the music, because we use the same sample, it becomes kind of guessing match for YouTube and the algorithms to be like, well, whose song really is this? Because they use the same vocal sample. So how do we determine what is one and what is the other? So being honest, those are really the only negative things I feel like I could say about DistroKid. I really love the platform. You know, I've been using them, like I said, for so long, and I've not had one issue with them. I think even for this video, most of the things I mentioned, I think aren't even really DistroKid's fault. They're just kind of the middleman that has to deal with all the stores and all the kind of nightmare that it is dealing with these stores and these platforms. I think the only one out of these four that I mentioned that I think is more on DistroKid is the auto add to stores. For me, that kind of $8 extra that I mentioned earlier in this video that I spent a year on my first album, I can't remember the last time it auto got added to stores. If anything, I had to manually add it to stores anyway. So it was kind of like just a waste of an $8 a year for that kind of service. But besides that, that's really the only negative thing. It really is the best platform. I've looked at all the other ones, you know, I've done so much research, and that's why I make so many videos about DistroKid, because the main questions I get from so many musicians is, how do I get on Spotify? How do I get on Pandora? How do I get my music on Apple Music? What is the best, you know, music distributor out there, whether it's CD Baby, TuneCore, I mean, there's a bajillion of them, and being honest, DistroKid is 100% the way to go.